thank you for watching today with Marilyn and Sarah. We absolutely love getting to minister to you, and we want to encourage you. We know this, that each person watching you right now, at this moment, you have needs in your life, and we want to pray for you. So whatever the need is in your life, please get on the phone, get on our website, give us the honor and the privilege of getting to pray for you, whether it's for your finances, whether it's for your family, might be for some emotional issues, might be for healing, might be for a deeper walk with God. But I know all of us, we have needs, and we like to pray for you. And in just a moment, you're going to be joining a teaching that I've done. And truthfully, this is probably one of the most impactful and powerful teachings that I possibly have ever done. You're going to be watching now in just a moment about Moses and why Moses is such a significant man, not just back in history, but what he means to us today. Put your remote control down. God wants to speak to you. I want to ask you to turn in your Bibles, and we're going to flip over to Exodus chapter 1, because we're going to look at Moses. Who is Moses? And when we think about Moses, what are some of the ideas that pop into your head in relation to Moses? Shoot some out to me. Who was he? Parted the water. Thanks. Manna. What? A leader. Thanks. What's the Egypt thing? Thank you. Led the Israelites out of Egypt.
10 Commandments.
10 Commandments. Rock on, Reggie. What's that? Faithful. He was very faithful. Now, what's that? He had to be saved. Yeah, he had to be rescued himself. You're kind of leading into what I want to talk about a little bit there. Let's talk for a second about the importance of Moses. Moses, and strip away some of the religious stuff and all of the Bible stuff. Think about this man from just a political context. Here's a man who takes a whole plethora, when I say plethora, I mean over 1 million people who were in slavery and had been in slavery for generations, multiple generations. And he takes a group of slaves with the help of God, because there's no way he could do this without God's help. He leads them out of slavery, and he leads them into the wilderness, and he gives them, basically, he establishes a theocracy. He gives them a judicial system. He gives them a national calendar. He sets up the whole idea of work 6 days, take a break on the 7th. With me? That's why we're here today in essence. This is called, quote unquote, the Sabbath. This is the guy that sets up the political system, the religious system, the social system, the calendar system for this entire nation of slaves. This man, with the help of God, made significant achievements in his life. And he couldn't have done it, obviously, without God. But he was, in essence, for the nation of Israel, he's, in essence, their national hero. How many of you understand that? I mean, you wrap up Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, and George Washington, wrap them all up into one guy, and that would be sort of like Moses. You with me? I mean, he's a significant hero, a very significant hero for the nation of Israel. You can write that in here. Israel's hero. On your notes, there's a blank, and I wanted you to write Moses. Kind of makes sense, right? Moses. So when you think about him, he did amazing things. On a personal level, his walk with God was unreal. I mean, unreal. I read this morning, and I just showed it to Mom. It took my breath away. It says in Numbers 12, verse 8, with Moses, and this is God speaking, with Moses I speak mouth to mouth, even openly and not in dark sayings, and he beholds the form of the Lord. This is a man who had a connection with God that I want. I want, like I can't even totally describe to you how much I want that kind of connection. In Exodus 33, verse 11, it says, thus the Lord used to speak to Moses face to face as a man speaks to his friend. I mean, this guy, not only did he do all these amazing achievements, but his walk with God, I don't know about you, but it makes me jealous. If you consider Moses, he wrote the first 5 books of the Old Testament that Jews, Muslims, and Christians all embrace. I mean, this is not some kind of Johnny wannabe cool guy that had a neat idea. woke up someday. I mean, this is a man that was very keenly used by God and achieved things way beyond any one individual's natural abilities. I mean, he was amazing. But that's the end of his life, looking at all of his achievements. Let's rewind a little bit and look at the beginning of his life. Because the beginning of his life was a very, very sketchy time. If you look at Exodus 1, you'll see there was a crisis. And what happens in Exodus 1, verses 15 to 22, you see that the crisis was this. The king of Egypt, Pharaoh, started to get intimidated and afraid of all the Hebrews. And it says that he was never aware of who Joseph was. And the more the Hebrews grew and grew and their numbers flourished and developed, I mean, there's a million of them, and the king of Egypt is starting to get freaked out by him. He's like, they're everywhere, they're populating, they're going to overrun us, they're going to take over our economy, this is bad news. So his solution was, let's kill them all. Kill all the Hebrew babies who were born. And it says in verse 16, when you're helping the Hebrew women give birth and see them on the birth stool, if it's a son, put him to death. But if it's a daughter, let her live. And this is directions to the Hebrew midwives. Well, the midwives didn't really follow Pharaoh's directions. So Pharaoh called him in, kind of reprimanded him. And then he made this commandment, verse 22. Every son who is born, you're to throw into the Nile. And every daughter you can keep alive. So this is the season when Moses is born. He's born under the direct commandment, edict of the king of Egypt, that he's supposed to be thrown into the Nile when he's born. This is a crisis time. I mean, a very serious crisis. And you know, an infant, how can an infant help itself? It can't. They hardly even talk. I mean, they're the most fragile, the most vulnerable of all humanity is as an infant. And this is when Moses is born. Moses, who becomes this amazing hero man. I mean, just does all these fantastic, mind-blowing things. And as an infant, he's born into a crisis time when he doesn't know if he'll survive or not. And he doesn't even know what's going on around him. Well, check this out. This is what happens. You see that his mom, when he's born, his mom and his dad see that he is a beautiful child. Verse 2 of chapter 2. He's a beautiful child. And when she could hide him no longer, he's starting to grow and develop, and he's finding his lungs, discovering his voice, and she can't keep him quiet. Well, that's a problem because he's not supposed to be alive. He's been alive covertly for 3 or 4 months, and now we can't keep him a secret anymore. It's out of the box. So what she does is she makes a little wicker basket, his mom. And you know moms with our children, man, we cut off our legs, our head, our toes. We'd give anything for our kids, especially infant kids. So here's this mom, and she's feeling protective, but I mean, she's in between a rock and a hard place. So she makes this little wicker basket and puts tar on it and takes Moses, and you gotta know, I mean, think of this mom, nurturing mom, takes him and puts him in the little wicker basket and floats him along the reeds of the Nile, hoping that some crocodile doesn't eat it. And literally, I mean, the Nile is crocodile infested. It's not just me saying that, it's true. Floats him among the reeds, and she goes away. I think she went away because she couldn't handle it. I mean, that's her son, that's her baby. Lived inside of her for 9 months. This is a big deal. She goes away, but the sister hides and watches, sees what happes. And it says that Pharaoh's daughter came down to the Nile to take a bath. And she hears a baby crying and sends her maids over, and they find this little basket and find a baby and bring Moses to Pharaoh's daughter. And she sees him and she says, hey, that's a little Hebrew boy. And right when she recognizes this is a Hebrew boy, the sister comes on the scene and says, hey, if you're interested in keeping this baby, I know someone who could help. And you understand why this is important. Pharaoh's daughter couldn't go to 7-Eleven and grab a bottle of formula. With me? They didn't have, formula. So the way you'd feed an infant clearly was through nursing an infant. Kind of rocket science there. So the sister says, I have somebody that could help you. And Pharaoh's daughter says, great, bring her. And the mom comes, Moses' mom, and Pharaoh's daughter says to the mom, you take him, take care of him, nurse him, and I'll pay you. pay you to take care of your own child. Sweet. Score. That's a win-win for all of us. That's fantastic. And so the mom takes him, and it says that Pharaoh's daughter named Moses. We don't even know what his mom called him. His name came from Pharaoh's daughter. And in essence, Pharaoh's daughter is the unnamed hero for the nation of Israel. Because if Pharaoh's daughter hadn't stepped in and intervened, Moses got eaten by a crocodile or ripped to shreds by some wild animal or whatever, drowned in the Nile River, 3 months old, 4 months old, where would the nation of Israel be today? You're like, well, God could have brought somebody else. Absolutely. But he didn't. He rescued a baby. He rescued an infant by an unnamed person. And that little baby grew in the house of Pharaoh. And you can read this in Acts. He grew up, was educated, schooled in all the high-level leadership, education, math, science, all the stuff of Egypt, the top of the top of the top. And when he's 40 years old, it says he goes out to see his fellow countrymen and gets a passion and a heart for his own people. But it started somewhere back here. And the thing that I'm so passionate about with saving Moses is these infants that we rescue, these infants that we feed, these infants that we help, we have no idea what their future will be. When Pharaoh's daughter reached down and grabbed that little infant and said, "Oh, look at him, he's so cute," she had no idea that she was holding in her hands the deliverer, the leader for the entire nation of Israel. Holding in her hands, in essence, the guy who's going to write the 10 Commandments, the guy who's going to write the Pentateuch, the guy who's going to walk closely with God, talk to him face to face as a man speaks with. She has no idea who she's holding. And yet all that little bundle of potential is right there in her hands at that moment. Saving Moses. That's what saving Moses is all about. You may not like what's happening in the Middle East. You may not like what's happening in the politics of Africa. You may not like what's going down with the trafficking and the sex trafficking industry and the brothels in Asia. You may not like any of that. But family, if you want to change it, if you want to make a difference, then let's start at the very beginning when they're first born. That's when we make a difference. That's when we change the world. And it doesn't mean that we don't do anything now and activists and all that. Absolutely, absolutely. But I have a total passion and a total conviction that if we don't help the least of these, then we're missing what God has for the future. You with me? So this is why I am so deeply passionate about saving Moses. And I want to put saving Moses in a modern context. Something that I saw when I was in my recent trip to Angola. And I want you to watch this video because I want you to see this is potential. These are future leaders. These are future scientists. These are future lawyers. This is potential that we can help and be Pharaoh's daughter today so their future can shine, be bright, and be effective. So let's run this video and watch this for just a few minutes. This is a malnutrition clinic in Angola that I went to about 6 months ago. Where's Angola? You know, it's in Africa, near South Africa, kind of on the west side, but it has the world's highest infant mortality rate. When I looked it up on the almanac and all that stuff, it's approximately 2 out of 10 babies don't make it to the age of 5. If you're going to deal with infants and infant mortality, start with where it's the worst. And when I went there, my experience is that it wasn't just 2 out of 10, but it was more along the line of 3 to 7. The first malnutrition clinic that we went to, I've never been to a malnutrition clinic, especially for infants or I've never been, so I didn't know what to expect. So you kind of, you're a little bit nervous. And our driver even said this as we were getting out of the car. A really nice guy, South African guy, strong, well put together in his mind, and all this. And I said, aren't you coming? He's like, I'm not going in there. What do you mean you're not going in there? Why not? He's like, I can't see those things again. I've seen them and they haunt me. They come up in my dreams. I'm here in Katambela, and we're going to go visit right behind me a malnutrition clinic for babies, and we're going to bring you with us so you can see what's going on here. But I mean, this isn't algebra. This isn't geometry. This isn't calculus. This is very simple. No food equals dead babies. And I put on my Facebook where that's not acceptable. We can't do that. So we're going to see how we can help and want you to come with us and see some opportunities to provide hope, help, and life. So let's go. This is Antonio, and about a month old, cleft palate, and so having a really hard time feeding, and so obviously a month old and the cleft palate has a difficult time drinking, and so this is the mom. She's brought him here, and it's good that he's here, but obviously he's really struggling to survive. And what's interesting too with this mom, she's got 8 other children, and she's come from about 600 kilometers. So the 8 other kids are home with her oldest daughter, who's about 14 or 15, who's watching after all these other kids so that mom could bring Antonio here to get some care. So she's got 8 kids at home and Antonio here. And so this is obviously kind of a fight to survive. And she's on the front lines of that. So, obrigado. This little girl right here, she's about a year and 7 months. She's got a really bad infection. It started in her mouth and then has spread all over her body. So the mom made her way here. And so it's trying to get some medical help because the infection now is in her mouth. You can kind of see the little scar here on her mouth, or not scar, but the thing on her mouth. And then here on her arm as well is infection, and it's spread all over. So she's sleeping right now, which is good. We want her to sleep because that helps her body to get strong and recover a little bit, but needs some definite help. And the mom explained to me that this infection is going around their community, and so whenever you have these infectious diseases or whatever, these little babies are some of the first to catch it because their immune systems aren't built up strong enough yet. I'm here in a malnutrition clinic in Angola, and we've got 8 kids, 8 babies, and I'm talking full-on babies. Some of them are a month old, some of them are up to about 16 months old, maybe 18 months, and you got all kinds of things going on here. You got babies with diarrhea, which is not good because the food just runs right out of them. So they're trying to get them healthy and stable and find out what the issues are. But it's a little bit primitive here. I met a mom whose baby has a cleft palate, and they can't fix them here. They can't fix a cleft palate, and they don't have the medical facilities in Angola to do that for surgery and stuff. So the only way for this little baby, Antonio, to get help is to fly to South Africa for the surgery. And that could be a life-preserving surgery for Antonio. I met mothers who had lost 3 out of 5 babies. And, talking to a mom who's lost a baby, who's lost an infant, there's something in that it's really hard to wrap your arms around. It's just hard to see an infant that is like almost starving to death. And I remember holding one little girl, her name is Ingavinia, and we would go back every day to this particular malnutrition clinic. And I remember, I think it was the first day, then I held Ingavinia. And I don't think she was more than 3 years old, somewhere 2, something like that. And she didn't even look like she was much alive, very, very gaunt. And her mom let me hold her. And that was really hard. That was, because I remember looking and I had her in my arms and they're all kind of bundled up a little bit and it's kind of warm, but yet she's got this orange sweater on. And I'm like, why are you wearing a sweater? It's hot out here, are you nuts? But when I held her, she wasn't hot. She wasn't perspiring, and her head is just really gaunt, like tight skin, and her neck was real skinny. And I remember trying to unwrap her, and I kept pulling the cloth back, and I couldn't find it. It's like I kept looking. Basically, I was looking for a body because I couldn't really find her. And so I finally get some of the stuff pulled off, and I opened up her sweater, a little orange sweater, and I pulled it open, and it just, you just saw a rib cage, and I don't know how to do that, and I don't know how to take that, and so I remember I put it back, and I felt her legs, and to this day, it still rips me up, because I just think, this little person that has a future, So, Ingavinia, and I would come back every day and ask, how's Ingavinia? How's her weight gain? Because they chart them every day, and so that was really hard. And hard to hold her, and feel life, but feel it ebbing away. That was really hard. Every time I see Ingavinia, she grips my heart, and I don't know if she made it or not. I don't know. My problem is this. In many of these places, this kind of thing isn't rocket science. It's not difficult. We're not trying to cure a nuclear disaster or something like that. This is just simply food. Food. And so when I see this and I understand this is Pharaoh's daughter coming and saying, look, I can help. I can pay for you to feed this kid. I can pay for you to feed this baby. We can make a difference. And so a friend of mine gave me a book, and I read this book, and I've read it probably 2 or 3 times now, and it just shredded me to the core because it put in a context, biblical context, an imperative, a righteous imperative that no, this isn't about somebody going over there doing something far away. This is a righteous imperative. If I love Jesus, if I'm passionate for Christ, then I have personal responsibility to go and make a difference, to do something, and to put it into action, the love of God. And my mom shared this verse with me, and I read it also in this book that I read, and it's Psalms, you can see it on your notes there. It's Psalms 31, verses 8 and 9. And it says, open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all the unfortunate. Open your mouth, judge righteously, and defend the rights of the afflicted and the needy. Open your mouth for the mute. I'm going to talk. I'm going to be Ingavinia's voice. I'm going to talk on behalf of Antonio, who has a cleft palate and 9 siblings at home. I'm going to be the advocate. I'm going to stand up there and say, could you help? And I'm going to be their voice. I'm going to help the needy. Open my mouth and judge righteously. Defend the rights of the afflicted and the needy. I'm going to do that. And Saving Moses is committed to walking this out on a real practical, daily, hands-on, nitty-gritty application. The real hero in the story of Moses' infancy wasn't just his mom. His mom was awesome. But the real hero was Pharaoh's daughter. Pharaoh's daughter, we don't even know her name. She was the one that saw a crying baby that needed help, and she reached down to help him. She's the real hero. And today I want to invite you to be a hero with Saving Moses. I want to ask you today, would you consider making a donation to Saving Moses to rescue, save, provide milk, provide life for these babies. Not only babies in Angola, but around the world. When I think about Ngavinha, when I think about Angelina, I think about these babies that I've met, Antonio, and I've seen their lives literally hanging by a thread. And I know if I just had a little bit more money to provide the milk for them, that I would rescue them, that I would keep them from dying. And I want to ask you today, that you would help me, that you would be a part of being a hero for Saving Moses. Some of you could give $30, some of you could give $50, some of you could give significantly more. But I want to invite all of you today, let's be a hero. Let's make a difference. Let's rescue the future by investing in the present, by making an investment, financial investment, in the lives of these babies. Because God has a purpose and a destiny, a plan for each one of them. God deeply loves them, cares for them, and wants their life to be flourishing and prosperous and walk out His destiny and purpose. So please get on the phone. Call right now. Get on the website and say, yes, I want to be a hero. All of us want to be a hero. We love to feel good about ourselves. We love to know that we're making an impact. We love to know that we're changing the future. We love that. So get on the phone right now. Get on the website and say, yes, I want to make a donation and rescue the future today.